Good evening, I'm Emma Jane Vere and this is Television Tonga News. In the headlines, Their Majesties the King and Queen of Tonga officiate at the memorial service for the late Lord Du'atamoepea Tupo of Dola and Gotu. People in the news expressed their joy over the visit of the King and Queen, and local service providers to give a more efficient internet connection to homes and workplaces with the launch of Tonga Cable Limited. These and more stories, including news from the Pacific, sports, world and the weather forecast later on in this bulletin. Let's take a look at the news in detail. Their Majesties King Tupo VI and Queen Nanaspa'u today officiated at the memorial service for the late Lord Du'atamoepea Tupo of Dola and Gotu, also known as Sonatane Du'akinamolahi Tupo. This is held at the Centenary Church in Nuku'alofa. Other members of the royal family, his children, grandchildren and many relatives and friends also gathered at the church. The Prime Minister, heads of government and members of parliament were also at the memorial service. The burial service was held at the Mala'e'aloa Cemetery in Kolomotu'a. Earlier today, families and friends paid their last tributes to the late Lord Tamoepea Tupo at the Whakaanawa residence before the memorial service. Lord Du'atamoepea Tupo passed away at the age of 70 and is survived by his 4 children and grandchildren. The Legislative Assembly's ordinary deliberations has been adjourned this morning to Thursday this week. This is the second adjournment of the House this week after the Speaker, Lord Whawhanua, yesterday morning ordered that the deliberations be adjourned due to a quorum. This was confirmed by the Parliament Office to Television Tonga News this morning. The adjournment was made so members of Parliament can attend today's funeral for a former Member of Parliament and former Minister of the Crown, Lord Tamoepea Tupo, who's also known as Sonatane Tu'akinamolahi Tamoepea Tupo. The Legislative Assembly has been adjourned for the past 2 weeks, so the parliamentarians can attend the Royal Agricultural Shows held in the Outer Islands. The Retirement Fund Board, which administers civil servant retirements, has raised the maximum eligibility criteria by an additional 20% for its members who want to make a loan from their leaving service benefits. Kalaine Tongilava has the details.
The acting CEO of the Retirement Fund Board, Michael Bloomfield, says the decision was approved in a board meeting last Friday. This increases the eligibility by 30% to 50% for members to loan from.
The Small Loans Investment Scheme, by its title, is an investment scheme by which members can loan up to a maximum previously of 30% of their leaving service benefits. Now, board decision was made in last Friday, whereby this eligibility or the threshold for loans is to be increased to 50%. The way we are administering this loan program is nothing much has changed, except that we have increased the threshold from 30% to 50% of your leaving service benefit. There is also an underlying criterion which needs to be taken into consideration in loan applications, is the repayment schedule cannot exceed 40% of members' net pay.
Mr. Bloomfield says, although they have raised the eligibility criteria for the members to loan from their retirement benefits, they are still applying the board's old regulations and policies regarding the small loan investment scheme. Furthermore, the acting CEO revealed they have collected up to more than 90 million pa'anga in the 2011-2012 financial year.
The total members' funds as at for the year end June 2012 was 91 million. 91 million consists of 86 million in member funds, and the rest are made up of reserves which have been built up by the fund over the years of since inception, and also funds from members who have retired but have requested the fund to administer these monies until they so request. And also there are classification of members which we classify as non-members who whose 5% contribution from salary is also maintained by the fund.
Mr. Bloomfield says that they are using all the commercial banks in Tonga to deposit the funds. The Retirement Fund Board is planning to implement future investment schemes which will multiply the fund and also create more opportunities for its members. For Television Tonga News, I'm Kalolaine Tonglava.
From court, the Chief Justice announced sometime today the result of an application filed by the Attorney General regarding a civil case against the editor and publisher of Kelea newspaper. This comes after a chamber in court was held this morning, with both sides presenting their cases in the Supreme Court. The application file is made by Neil Adset against Mateni and Lautala Tapueluelu of an opinion made by the editor, Mateni, in regards to a ruling of a separate civil case. The case is between themselves, the Kelea newspaper and Solomone Balo, against 7 government ministers. The opinion piece was published in the Kelea newspaper, page 7, dated June 24th. The civil case was a defamatory case where the magistrate, Paula Tatafu, ruled that the 4 accused pay more than 124,000 pa'anga. In the opinion piece, Maten Tapueluelu expressed his opinion about the ruling made by Mr. Tatafu. The Attorney General filed that the opinion piece is an alleged contempt of court. Mr. Adset represents himself, while Sione Edgar acts as legal counsel for Mateni and Lautala Tapueluelu. Local service providers will be providing more efficient internet connection to homes and workplaces with the launch of Tonga Cable Limited. The new internet connection will connect the internet from the cable system to homes and workplaces after its commission tomorrow. Here's Fatai Whaingaa with that report.
The high-speed internet is a government initiative for Tonga's development and helps the kingdom keep up with technology and development in more developed countries throughout the world. The CEO of the Ministry of Information and Communications, Paula Ma'u, confirmed this in a televised program on Television Tonga called Talatala Noa. He also spoke of 2 ways that the internet will be connected to homes and workplaces through the cable system.
Fiber optic.
The fiber optic is like a punch of hair, except it's made of glass. It can distribute internet through many ways, depending on the internet provider needs and that of its customers. For instance, the Digicel company can connect the cable to its main center at Fualo and from there distribute it to its customers through microwave. This method is used internationally. Mr. Mao says the Tonga Communication Corporation TCC can also distribute the high-speed internet to its customers as well. Another way of enabling fast internet connection by the service provider is the laying of the cables underground and connecting it through the landlines, which is known as ADSL, or through the copper circuit to homes. Meanwhile, the acting CEO of TCC, Rizvi Duran-Berthi, says they are ready for tomorrow, which is the launch of Tonga Cable, of which they are the only local service provider ready. He says the new cost for the internet will be reduced by 60% and made effective by September 1st. For Television Tonga News, I'm Fatai Whaingaa.
This year's Royal Agriculture Show holds special significance to its residents, as it's been more than 10 years since such a show was held on the islands of Niutoptapu and Niuafo'ou. The people of the Niuas expressed their excitement and joy at welcoming their Majesties, King Debo VI and Queen Anasapa'u to the islands for this year's Royal Agriculture Shows. Linda Filiai has more on that story.
Their Majesties, King Debo VI and Queen Anasapa'u, officiated at Niuafo'ou Royal Agriculture Show 2013. In a special program, a Niuafo'ou resident, Lotu Lau, expressed the joy of the people of such an event. I am so glad to join the agricultural show, and I give praise to God for His grace and love upon His people. Today is a beautiful day in Niuafo'ou, and the King has safely arrived on our island. All the people on the island have gathered at Latu Fuipeka Grounds for the Royal Agricultural Show. The activities on the island are in full swing. Women have prepared handicrafts and men have displayed the fruits of their labor, and we are happy with today's program. In Niuafo'o, we have to work hard in order to earn a living, and we are so proud that the King of Tonga is visiting our island. The food here is abundant with local food crops like yam, taro, and sweet potato. Fellow Niuatoptapu resident also spoke about their preparation for this year's agriculture show. It took me 5 months to weave all my products for my display. In the last 2 weeks, I was decorating all my handicrafts. We began preparing for this show last year. All the handicrafts displayed is the result of our hard work and preparations. The Royal Agricultural Show began in Niuatoptapu in the previous week and will end in Tongatapu this weekend. For Television Tonga News, I'm Linda Filiai.
Vava'u strives to tighten its waste disposal procedures and stop littering after a group from Vava'u participated in the Great Vava'u and Okinawa Mutai Mai Movement project held in Okinawa, Japan. Anasiu Falekaano tells you more.
These are some of the people from Vava'u who participated in the Great Vava'u and Okinawa Mutai Mai Movement project in Japan. They were welcomed back in the office after 2 weeks in Okinawa. According to the group leader, Binofa Asolo, they learned a lot on the trip on how to properly dispose of waste, control littering and recycle waste. On the trip, we saw how Japan disposes of its waste material, such as metal and aluminium. They can be recycled to produce other materials and get money out of it too. We need to share this knowledge with others coming back home. One of their upcoming programs is to teach the children on the impacts of littering. In Japan, they teach the young children while they are young on the importance of keeping the environment clean. This will benefit all in the long run. The trip on the Great Vava'u and Okinawa Mutai Movement project was funded by JICA. Anasi Falekano for Television Tonga News.
That's the local news. Pacific is next.